This podcast was recorded during the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike. Without the labor of the actors currently on strike, the series being covered here would not exist.
Welcome to the Artie's Attic Warehouse 13 Fancast, where a steampunk girl, a lifelong sci-fi fan, and a rocket scientist chat about the popular 2009 sci-fi series. There's never a dull moment with the agents dedicated to protect humankind from unexplained phenomena that manifest their powers in special objects. And there's all those friendships and relationships along the way. Grab a cookie while you can. Hope you don't smell fudge. Gear up with your Farnsworth, Tesla, and neutralizer, and let's have some fun by snagging it, bagging it, and tagging it. Welcome back to Artie's Attic. We're a Warehouse 13 fan cast. I'm the Warehouse 13 janitor, currently confused on who my boss Artie really is. My name is SP. And introducing Artie's Attic lead agent and historian who is currently planning a trip to see Jamie Murray because she misses her so much. Her name is Agent Shannon.
What's up, guys? That'd be a good trip. Good trip.
I think you're just going to have to wait a week at this point.
One more week.
All right. And the rookie warehouse agent who turned traitor this week is Agent Carolyn.
I did not. It was the thimble's fault. I swear. I didn't do it. It was somebody else wearing the thimble. It looked like me.
I'm feeling that you are incorrect.
Well, your feelings are wrong because so was she.
At least that we know of right now.
I think it was the phrase he said at the end. That's what turned her on.
Well, big cliffhanger. We'll get to it. In the meantime, on this show, we are continuing our discussion of the TV show that premiered 4 years before the launch of the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. It's
Nice.
Warehouse 13, Season 1, Episode 12, MacPherson. The Amazon description was, the team discovers MacPherson is auctioning artifacts he siphoned from the warehouse shelves. Pete, Micah, and Artie track him down, ready to seal his fate. But is it all a trap? It premiered on September 21st, 2009. And Shannon, you were saying that your biggest bonus of this episode was that it gets you to the next one.
Well, yeah, because the beginning of the next season, we get a whole new character that comes in. So, one that's going to stay with us, or actually one that makes a pretty good impact on the rest of the series. So, and it's not MacPherson. There's a lot in this episode.
There is a lot in this
There's
episode.
a lot from the beginning. I mean, I think my favorite line of the entire episode was when she's explaining to Artie, and she's showing him what she can do on the computer, and he goes to touch it. When Artie was explaining to her about what the necklaces done that the necklaces do that MacPherson wears.
Oh, yeah.
About boiling his blood, and she's like, dude.
Yeah. It was after we saw in the beginning where we figure out why MacPherson got banned from the warehouse because he's using artifacts to save someone. The first artifact we find is the Phoenix, and it apparently allows you to, is it just walk through fire? Or
survive fire.
Is it just survive fire?
It allows you to survive the heat
just
of the fire.
It doesn't allow, because it sounded like it allowed you to just even live through anything, because he called them super warriors. So,
well, the guy that he shoved in the oven they came out and didn't feel anything, didn't get burned or anything. So it allows you to survive trauma from anything.
True, but he was talking about it, so I was wondering if it was like survive anything. But anyway, he goes into this burning house and saves his wife. And after shooting Artie in the back with a Tesla and taking the artifact, and
I think it was his girlfriend at the time.
I don't know.
Saul definitely has a way of getting shot in the face. His acting of just his arms out to the side and doing the shaking and falling on the ground.
He does that pretty good.
Yeah, Saul did some good acting there. I don't know if she was Carol, I believe is her name is, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Carol.
I don't know if she was the girlfriend or the wife at that point in time, but it came out that they both had affection for her at that point in time.
Yes.
And Artie was willing to let her go because he knew there was cost of using the artifact. From one of the fan wikis says that the Phoenix protects the holder from direct fire at the cost of killing those nearby in exchange.
So we get to see that MacPherson has no qualms about letting everyone else die. So he will use the artifacts to his benefit. So he might have saved the woman, but the people around, a lot of the firemen died.
Yeah, it was like 5 of them died.
Right.
And he ended up with 5 life sentences because of that.
Right, for each one. So just like the guy when he was in the warehouse with the Chinese and the Russian guy, and he pushed his own guy in, everyone who touches it gets saved by it. So their henchmen didn't touch it, so their bodyguards died.
Yeah.
So it definitely has some cause and effect to it.
They were just henchmen. It's fine.
It's just the henchmen. There has to be some minor collateral damage. But yeah, while we're in the warehouse and they're both searching for MacPherson online, he says that there's no way that MacPherson could come in because the warehouse is imbued with panite, a certain element that is called panite. And then MacPherson was injected with something that reacts violently with the panite.
Yeah, it turns their blood acidic and eats through their veins when they step into the warehouse. I need to go back to the Phoenix and that beginning scene just for a second, guys, because what were they doing with the Phoenix? They just happened to have it in the middle of a burning apartment fire?
Good question.
Well, it might have been the thing that they were tasked to find on this mission, and then a fire broke out. That's all I got.
That's a good question. Did he know the fire was going to? Did he set it to test it or what?
I don't know.
But what about then? Why didn't they have it in like some kind of goo or one of the plastic? The sheet, the little sleeves, so that it was
and he kept it in his
bagged,
pocket.
and tagged. It was in his hand.
It was only 15 years ago. There were gallon Ziploc bags 15 years prior to 2009.
But were they warehouse anti-static bags?
I don't know if it really matters. You just put the goo in, and as long as it holds the goo, you're okay.
Well, that's valid.
So I like the part that I like the investigative part whenever Pete and Micah and Artie go to, what was her name's Carolyn, right? Go to Carolyn's house.
Carol. Her name was Carol.
It
wasn't my name. It was part of my name.
And I love how quick Micah is to investigate, to see the things, right? That she notices the necklace on her neck, and she notices the calling card, the card that's on the table,
and the fresh flowers,
the umbrella by the door. She notices each thing, right? And Pete's like, "Oh, cookies." Although I don't think they had cookies there, but still, she notices everything, and I love how you get to see. I mean, we've seen it in a couple episodes before this, but she actually, for sure, takes his gut feelings he has very seriously now.
Every time he has a vibe, she's like, "What is it? What is it? What are you feeling? What is it this time?" She definitely takes him a lot more seriously with his vibes now.
Right.
We got a strong reaction from Pete at the beginning when they were going through the explanation of the Phoenix and that 5 firemen died. Reminder that his dad was a fireman and died in the line of duty. So I was wondering, the first time I watched it, I forgot that his dad was a fireman. I'm like, whoa, that is a little overreacting. And I watched it the second time. I'm like, you dumb butt SP. His dad was a fireman.
His dad was a fireman. Yeah.
That's why he's reacting. Yeah. He was, the strongest reaction. He was like, I hope he burned in hell. Or he didn't say that, but that was the reaction that he gave. So there was that. And then the vibes about Artie continually through the episode. Really weren't about Artie forecasting what we see at the end with Artie in the transfer tube into the Warehouse 13
the umbilical
control room.
umbilicus.
Yeah.
It's in the umbilicus.
Yep.
Yeah, right before it explodes. So we're
Of course,
left.
he does put his hand on something in his pocket. I saw that in the last second time I watched it. He sticks his hand in his pocket and holds on to something. So
it's coming.
If you're a guy and you know it's the end, might as well.
Jeez.
I don't think it's going to help you. That's not going to help you. It'll burn off.
No, it might make you feel good right at the end.
Yes. Like, hey, I mean,
I won't even feel it coming. Literally.
At least your last thought would be nice, right?
who knows what he's got in his bag, too? He didn't have his bag with him, but as they were descending to apprehend MacPherson down the tube, he was being handed his bag by Pete or Mike. I don't know which one it was.
I'll tell you, because if I remember correctly, because of Pete's vibes that he was getting about him the entire episode, I'm pretty sure that's why he has what he has in his pocket.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Because you never know. And MacPherson obviously is good for it, right? Obviously, he doesn't care who he kills. So
yeah.
You would think, though, being the security-minded person that I am, you would think that they would change up some protocols whenever they let someone go, right? Why would you leave the same key right there for him to break into, to bust open, like, in case of emergency, break glass here, and he uses the same... I'm like, why is it so readily available?
Well, I mean, this is the warehouse that has the one button underneath the desk that Artie couldn't hit when Claudia
the one
was there.
Security button, yeah.
The one button. I mean, this is that warehouse. So,
I mean, like I said, obviously he's tried to kill Artie a couple times. I mean, like even back when they were in the warehouse when they thought that Artie could have been, the bad guy, they thought, maybe he's at MacPherson. No, and then he pops up with a bomb in his mouth. I mean, obviously, he doesn't care about Artie. Obviously,
yeah. I liked Pete's speech there. It's like, that's not a very good recruitment tool where you're having a bomb in somebody's mouth. Right. It's not a very good recruitment tool.
Exactly.
Saul must have been having a fun day on the set because he's got this big ball gag in his mouth, right? And he's got this chain to the ball, but he's also got a collar around his neck, right? And he's like shuffling, like he's all bound up and stuff. Basically, it's a little bit of BDSM.
I guarantee you, Eddie probably had a field day with that one.
Oh man, can you imagine the outtakes with that? Oh, I would love to see those. That would be
they have
great gag.
Of that one, but I didn't watch them.
So you guys like solving puzzles?
Mm-hmm.
There were not one, but two. There were two puzzles that were solved.
Come on, you didn't even get that. Come on, somebody had to get that.
I did. I heard you.
Okay, thank you. Don't make me wear my shirt.
I don't know. I was just running towards the puzzle thing, and I had to get that out. So I was just doing that.
Solving puzzles, saving the day.
One track mind, one track.
I'm a guy.
There is no veering.
My hands are not in my pocket, so I have to think about something else, right? So there we go. Anyway, two puzzles that were solved. The first one was the necklace. Carol's necklace opened up the glass case, right? Which gave the glass. We'll talk about the glasses. And then the second puzzle was using that box as the key to get into the wherever they were, the warehouse or whatever.
The hole that opened up.
Reminds me of an escape room, and you have to figure it out.
Pretty much.
I sucked at that last year, but
I was going to say I would die.
I didn't do well. I've only done one in my life, and it was a Jack the Ripper, and we did not do well.
I'm pretty sure I would have figured out the glass case because it's okay, two holes, and it looks like this necklace. I would have figured that one out.
But of course, it's Micah that figures out, hey, give me the glasses. Will you two shut up and just give me the glasses? And she looks.
I loved how they were all like, oh, I can touch that. It's right in front of me. What is that?
What freaked me out was the little boy that out of nowhere is just like coming down this industrial parking lot all by himself. And that'd be.
I know.
Well, I mean, as a young boy at one point in time myself, that's probably what I would have done. If I lived close enough to bike to it, I probably would have biked around this abandoned place because it's cool. And I can do everything. I have a production note on the glasses, by the way. You guys want to hear it?
Go for it.
Yes.
The prop for the replica of Timothy Leary's glasses and later the real pair are the glasses of showrunner Jack Kinney.
Yeah, I knew that part.
Oh, that's cool.
They are his real pair of glasses. Yep, that's always cool. You know what? As a kid, I probably would have done the same thing and rode around in the parking lot. Now, as an adult, I would have felt like eyes were on me the entire time in those abandoned windows.
Probably.
I had to make sure my gun was on my hip or something.
Well, when you were younger, you probably didn't think about that.
But it was cool to watch them solve that puzzle.
Yeah. I like how they're going down the stairs. He's like, ladies first. And she's like, age before beauty.
And she looks at Pete.
Yeah.
But he's older than me. And then you just hear your Artie, children. I'm working with children.
Don't tilt it. My lunch is in there.
Don't tilt it. My lunch is in there.
All the other things he has in that Mary Poppins bag of goodies and stuff, he has his lunch in there too.
Yeah. When they first find the glasses and the guy is in there and he uses that goblet that is really loud and makes that sound. What was it called? A goblet of Saravan.
He spins on the rim.
Designed by a Roman. And then he's like roaming around in his big Mary Poppins bag to try to find something to help them hear again. And he finds a tuning fork. And he's like, here, close your eyes. And he has to wang, stick in the back of your head, pop your ears.
I can imagine that would be another funny behind the scenes kind of, because, they had fun with that too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think I've tried that before. I took a tuning fork and then put it on the back of my head. I think that it resonates in your inner ear cavity
definitely.
or something like that. So
no, thank you. I've had enough there this year.
You're coming up on a year, though.
I am coming up on a year.
I know. It's exciting.
What's today? The 6th?
Yeah. Well, about a month and a half.
7.
Because it was Christmas Eve, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The 24th.
Almost a year.
Yeah, but the tuning fork, it allows them to hear. The bad guy gets away. Did the bad guy look familiar to you at all?
He did, but I couldn't place him.
The guy that played
he was the Russian.
Freytag or whatever, William Freytag. The guy that was buying the Phoenix.
Yeah.
He probably looked familiar to you. He's not
like Daddy Warbucks.
Kinda. He's not as famous as some of the other guest stars that we've had, but he's been in a lot. He has 129 acting credits since 1980, and here's a few that you probably have seen him in, but you probably wouldn't be able to place him in. So he was in 4 episodes of Arrow from 2014 through 2016. He's been acting, like I said, since 1980. And the character that he played in Arrow was, as I scroll to find it.
Is this where I tell you, oh, you're not ready? What? That's
I'm ready.
terrible.
I got the webpage up. Is Milo Armitage. So he was in 4 episodes of Arrow 2014.
His name is Milo?
No, that's his character name. His real name is James Kidney.
Whoa. That's
Yeah.
James Kidney. Wow.
It's spelled Kidnie. So it's not
okay.
Kidney. He was in a episode of Continuum, so I know you've seen him.
That's probably where I know him from.
He's from 2 episodes of Fringe, an episode of Smallville, a lot of single episodes, right? This single episode of Warehouse 13, an episode of Stargate SG-1, so I know Shannon's definitely seen him before. 1 episode of Earth Final Conflict. Probably his biggest run on TV was this show that I never touched, but it was from 1994 to 1995 called Free Willy.
Free Willy, the show or the movie?
That was a movie.
Yes, it was.
There was a show,
Free
Willy?
A TV show, Free Willy, and he was in 16 episodes of it.
Wow.
I didn't see that. I watched the movie. I mean, Keiko actually was at our aquarium here in Newport, but...
So he was a secondary character in all the stuff he does.
Pretty much 6 episodes of a show called RoboCop.
I didn't know these things became shows.
The 80s one, or... Oh, that was a movie.
Yes.
They made a movie. They made a TV show out of RoboCop?
Yes.
I didn't know these things came...
He was in 1 episode of 21 Jump Street. one episode of MacGyver, one episode of War of the Worlds, and one episode of Airwolf. Those are probably some
I
of
love
the
Airwolf.
shows. Yeah,
Oh
I
my
know.
gosh. I love
But you know
that
what?
show.
I probably don't recognize him from Stargate because he's probably one of the aliens.
Let me see who he played in Stargate. I don't remember him being in.
Airwolf. I think I have that ringtone on my phone.
He was
actually.
Soren in. That was the character that he played. Soren.
You have what ringtone?
Airwolf.
Do you really?
Yeah. I have the title on my phone as a ringtone if I wanted to use it. I love that show.
Yeah, it's about a minute long. I got on a kick a few years ago of listening or watching all of the 80s themes, the intro themes that I remembered from a kid. And that was one of them. And I played 15 different versions of it. And it was a fun day, but I haven't seen it
Did you have
since.
the A-Team in there?
Oh, the A-Team, yeah.
Got to have the Fall Guy.
Oh, definitely the Fall. They're
Miami
making a new
Vice.
one.
I know it. I'm not going to do it. No. Can't ruin it for me.
I mean, Miami Vice, that was so iconic. And it was, I mean...
And then they ruined it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But they didn't ruin this. I think if you weren't bought into Warehouse 13 yet, you did buy into Warehouse 13 now. I mean, even Mrs. Frederick was like, now I'm bad.
Did you notice that Mrs. Frederick had a gut feeling too at the end?
Yeah, I know she did. She's like, turn around.
If this would have
Yeah.
been canceled after this episode, I would have been
Oh.
mad.
That would have been terrible. If it was on Fox, it would have been.
or before Di-Fi became Di-Fi. This was back when Syfy
Right.
Channel had good stuff.
Right? This was when Syfy believed in their shows.
It was still called Syfy
Yeah.
Channel at the time. Because they're towards the end of Warehouse 13. Did they change the whole sci-fi?
Yeah, they changed
spelling?
it to SYFY instead of SCIFI.
I remember that
Yeah.
because they did that about the same time that Sanctuary came out.
Mhm.
Because you remember those commercials that they would do, and you'd have all the different characters inside the. I love those commercials, but you had Amanda Tapping in one, and Colin, whatever's the from Eureka. He was riding the Ferris wheel. I mean, not the Ferris wheel, the carousel.
Yep.
I love those.
I loved those commercials. They were great. Yeah.
And then they changed executives, and all went.
Yeah.
I
And then they
think it
just
was
went to horror
headed there to begin with.
and wrestling for a time. Does that make sense?
WWE, what?
I don't think they can afford it now because they have to pay royalties for it. I don't think they can afford it. So they can't even have wrestling on.
Well, that's what I'm saying is why was wrestling even on Syfy? I mean, what the heck?
Because it was a big draw. There's a lot of fandom to that. And
Oh, I get that. But what does it have to do with Syfy at all?
Sean
At
had
all.
quite a large diatribe on it. He was able to connect wrestling because of the fantasy and the storytelling involved and the costumes. And
Yeah.
he
Stupid.
had a
It
big
ain't-
thing.
no.
I
No.
don't watch it personally, but a lot of the friends that I have and co-hosts on other podcasts do watch wrestling and love
there
it.
are some that are like fanatics about their wrestling, and I just can't.
You know, it's the same way we're fanatic about sci-fi. I mean,
That's true.
it's
That's
like
the
I was
same
telling you
as-
earlier in the week, whenever, or maybe it was yesterday, I can't remember, my days run together, but back when we used to love the Sci-Fi Channel, we used to love the shows that came out before they started doing stupid things. I mean, we always loved the stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
between Battlestar Galactica and Dark Matter and Stargate.
Killjoys, Eureka, Defiance, Warehouse 13.
I like most of the space stuff. There was some of the space stuff that I didn't enjoy as much. Like Killjoys, I did not like as much as Dark Matter, for instance.
Yeah.
I watched it all the way to the end, and that was it. I think that was the last show. When that ended, then I stopped watching anything on Skiffy.
I think I did too. I don't think there was anything after that. Or if there was, I didn't start it because I just knew that they were going to cancel it and I didn't want to get involved. I didn't want to get invested in something they were just going to cancel within like 2 seasons.
Back to the episode here. Claudia gets duped. Oh my, I feel for Claudia.
Oh.
in here. she had my favorite scene in this episode, just like your scene, Shannon. It was a different one though. It was when she was arguing of, hey, I could take care of myself. I was magnetized to the ceiling and I was ground up in the gooey in front of Mrs. Frederick. And she was like, I will stay here with Claudia and she will brief me on those two events. And then she gulped.
You can hear.
Yeah, you can just see Artie's face like, no, don't say that. Don't say that. I didn't tell her that. Don't say anything.
I didn't do. You're gonna.
Artie's eyes get really huge. Claudia's like, why
are you shaking your head that way? Why are you shaking your head that way? But you know, you're right. That Claudia, she not only she got duped, but she got the short end of the very long stick on this episode, because they accuse her of being the traitor because she had that big moment, right? Remember, she had the big moment where she's like, Leena, who is this guy right here? No, this is the professor from Josh's school, and then she finds out that MacPherson's been playing her the entire time.
He gave Joshua the compass. Yeah.
Leena, when was she replaced? Because I think she was replaced this whole episode because she was framing Claudia from the beginning this episode. If you go back and rewatch it, you're like, oh, that's what her bad feeling about Claudia is. She's casting doubt on Claudia the whole time. And Claudia is feeling bad because she's been duped by MacPherson to begin with. And then secondly, that nobody's believing her. They're like, oh, you're bad juju or whatever. You're not joining the team. And oh, you're not whatever. And then she sends her to the B&B basically. And then Claudia's like, I'm out. Peace. And then.
Well, actually it was Leena was casting doubt. Yes. But Claudia actually sent herself to the B&B because she's like, I'm the Manchurian candidate or something like that as she screams out the door. And she's feeling bad. And then Mrs. Frederick thinks she's the sleeper agent. Like, she doesn't even know she's a sleeper agent. So we get that thought in our head of, you may not even know you're a sleeper agent because MacPherson is that good. He makes you doubt yourself. But so I think it was, no one knew. And at that point in time, if you go back and watch it after you've seen the whole thing, you're like, oh, they planted that in your brain right there.
So now who's the real sleeper agent?
And I don't think Leena actually even knew she was a sleeper agent. I don't think she knew this whole time that she was doing these things.
She doesn't.
I think when she got switched out of the nice Leena that we know into the Leena that releases MacPherson in the end, is when he said those words, oh, you brought me a present or something like, oh, don't forget our arrangement. He said something like that to her and her face kind of changed. If you watched it, her face kind of changed.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he switched her to the bad Leena, which is sad because I really like the Leena that she was.
She doesn't even know right now because, I mean, it gets discovered later on in season 2, but you still don't know why, and she doesn't know yet either.
Yeah.
But because he had her do another task.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Artie clicking on a link where Claudia in the beginning, she's like, don't click on that.
Touch it,
Artie.
Artie should know better than to click on something like that. I mean, he's king of cybersecurity to begin with. Although, I mean, king of cybersecurity by just changing out components, and that's the way to trace somebody's IP address back. Remember that from the beginning of the season? Yeah. No. But that gives the appearance anyway within the confines of the show that he's an IT expert, right? And for him to click on a simple link like that, it's like,
not so much.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to MacPherson, really all of his brain power gets sort of wired wrong.
He gets so tunnel vision that he lets the simple things.
Yeah. And then Claudia's like, oh no. I gotta fix it.
You touch it and you die. Yep.
She's like, I hacked your super secret Ville in the first place. Don't think I can't fix it.
Oh, when the warehouse goes into lockdown, that's pretty impressive. All those the armor size panels, whatever, coming up and just really quick. Those are big. The warehouse is not a small place. Those are huge panels, and they're moving really
And
quickly.
how are they powered by?
I don't know.
See, now we're
The
thinking of.
gooery.
Now I'm getting. Not that it really matters because it looks cool, right? But now we're getting into the part like Sean used to always. The girls used to watch this cartoon he called Bubble Guppies, and he'd be like, "And how are these How are these little fish having like airplanes on the water?" I'm like, "It's a cartoon. No one cares. Leave it be." So I don't know how those panels move. They go pretty fast.
They dead.
They didn't have a single glitch. There's no chains involved. Somewhere.
I mean, it is the warehouse.
It's
so
magical, right?
it's magic.
But it's also
you just have to go with its magic.
Well, you do because also the warehouse knows it's in danger, so it's trying because you got to remember the warehouse is a self-aware entity. It knows that it's in danger. It knows that MacPherson is putting it in danger. So you would think it would try to control the door and let Artie back in for something, but
You would think it would be able to control the bronze sector a little bit too, by the way.
Yeah,
Which this is our introduction to the bronze sector.
it is because it's not in the manual that Pete said he's going to read over the weekend. He promised.
Of course,
we'll
it was
get there.
taken straight out of The Empire Strikes Back, but we'll leave that alone.
Right?
Yeah, you could bring it in. It's exactly the same thing. It's just, I mean, they copy things just like I was telling you last time in the whole Encanto movie. Copied. I've watched that thing so many times now. I'm like, it is such a Warehouse 13 Disney movie. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Have you seen it yet, SP? Did you watch it?
No, I did not watch it.
Ah,
And
Oh
I
my
did not
goodness.
watch it because I did not want to do what you ladies are telling me to do. I'm actively resisting,
Resistance is futile.
maybe, but I'm going to play the strong man. No, I don't want to see it. You can't make me.
Encanto. Oh, yeah. So, I mean,
I mean, there's a really strong woman in it, so
Eh,
a couple of them.
I can be
She carries
manipulated.
donkeys.
Yeah.
it does have
There's no
donkeys.
donkey that's better than the donkey in Shrek. I mean, that is the quintessential donkey.
Very true. I'm making
Donkey.
waffles.
Not a single waffle was made.
Everybody loves waffles.
Oh, by the way, the director for this episode was Steven Surgic. We talked about him before. He's directed Claudia, my previous to this episode favorite episode. We haven't done that in a while. My favorite episode is now MacPherson, just because of the cliffhanger and everything, the stories being brought together and everything like that. So Steven Surgic did it, and he's done a lot in geekdom. We talked about him before, and he's doing things like The Witcher and The Umbrella Academy and Lost in Space now for Netflix. So he has continued on with his greatness, including other good things that he's done in the past. An episode of The X-Files, Shannon. We talked about that before. Person of Interest, stuff like that.
Xbox.
It was written by the showrunner. Do you guys remember who the showrunner is? I mean, we talked about him earlier.
Kenny?
Jack Kinney. Yep.
Yeah, Jack Kenny.
Yeah. So this is one of 8 episodes that he wrote, and the third of season 1. So we will see episodes that he wrote again. And we talked about the notable main cast guest, James Kidney, and really that was it. I mean, there's other people, there were other guest stars, but he was really the one that was the most notable, unless you want to call like Roger Rees as James MacPherson.
I think Roger Rees has been in a lot of things.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
talked about him in his first episode, yeah. But the new one was James Kidney.
I think he's passed
Yeah.
now.
You might be right.
I think he's passed away now.
Anyway, that's all I got there. Did we get any cookies? I think we talked about that already. No cookies?
There was
I don't
not
remember seeing
even any food. There was not even any food in this one. So no cookies and no food.
They were too busy accusing. There was no briefing. It was just, okay, we've got the stuff.
No.
I mean, I like that, no, we didn't even see it there either. Because the moment they picked him up,
No. An interesting part was when they were all outside the warehouse and they were going to bring MacPherson inside the warehouse to bronze him. And in order to get him inside the warehouse so his blood doesn't boil, even though Artie wanted to test it out, around Mrs. Frederick's neck
That's where she's kept it all
was
these
some
years.
crystals. The crystal, I can't remember what they were called. They were crystals. And that neutralized the stuff in his blood. And you hear MacPherson go, that's where they've been. So he's been actively trying to search for these stones, the crystals, so that he can get into the warehouse.
He wouldn't need all the little tricks he was doing. He wouldn't need to leave.
Yep.
I believe it was called a crystalline diamond necklace, and it contained a trace element of palladium. And that neutralizes the panite.
Big word.
Yeah.
I thought Harriet Tubman's thimble was pretty cool. Artifact.
I know. That was
a cool history.
That's the second time we saw it in the same episode.
Yeah, the story behind it was pretty neat, where they were talking about her stitching the clothes together for the slaves and the Underground Railroad. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out how this happened, because it looked like the person that had it was Pete, because he took it off the bodyguard, and then he must have had it in his pocket. But how did Leena get it? Maybe because when they were putting things away, I'm not sure. I was trying to figure out how Leena even got a hold of it.
That's a good question,
because she had a hold of it.
Exactly, because when they left the warehouse with MacPherson, Pete had it.
Yep.
I was watching Pete both times I watched the episode at the end where he was going through the warehouse with the crate on the cart with all the crates. I'm like, what is he just going back to business as usual or whatever? And the only thing I could think of is when they nabbed MacPherson, there were all those crates from the warehouse that he was actually returning.
Yeah, because that's what Leena came down and told them all when they were going to Bronze. So funny. Pete's like, but I want to watch this. When's this going to happen again? It was funny. But when they came down, then Leena came down, and that's when she said, all of the stuff from the warehouse has been brought back. Do you want help? Would you help me put it away?
Unless Leena was digging in Pete's pocket for that thimble, which I doubt. I don't know. I think that the continuity kind of slipped right there, because I don't know how she got it.
Well, I mean, I guess it's just magic. We're just supposed to believe it happened.
Magic.
Sure. Were there any other quotes that you wrote down, Carolyn?
Well, I've said some of them. Oh, it was Pete when he was listening to MacPherson's speech on how he should join MacPherson, because the vibes that he gets are, he knows that stuff in the warehouse should be out in the world and not kept by some regents who have no idea what they're doing. And Pete was like, that was a great speech, and it sounded even better with an accent.
Yeah, how's it going?
Roger has a great accent.
Yep.
Mike is not buying any of it, since he came after her mom and dad.
The other one I had down was Pete saying that, here, let me have those glasses. I look great in glasses.
Okay.
Or the Claudianometer.
Claudia, I can't say that.
Yeah, it's something that she put in there. Claudiometer. Yes.
Got a new word. All in all, I thought this was a good episode. I think it's a great ending to the season. I mean, look how far we've come this season.
Mm-hmm.
Look how far, where we started with the magic hair comb at the college.
The very first episode kind of reminds me of the pilot episode of Stargate SG-1, when you have Samantha Carter, mouthing off at the briefing table, whatever, which is totally not the Samantha Carter that we get at the end of Stargate SG-1,
talking about reproductives on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And Micah kind of goes through that transformation here a little bit too in season 1.
Yeah.
And I know she continues on after that, but yeah, I'll give credit for the character development of both those characters, Samantha Carter and Micah, in the two respective shows. I think we're there because, as you mentioned, I think when we were covering the first few episodes, Micah was meant not to be liked in the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't meant. She was meant to be a tight ass. She was always bossy. She was always upset about something, and she took everything so serious. She couldn't light up because she was so worried about her reputation from Colorado. She was so worried about what was going to be in the record for what happened with Sam. She didn't want to be with another partner that didn't take things serious because she had already lost somebody to a serious situation. So you were not meant to like Micah at first. And I would say it took about 3 episodes, maybe 4, before you started getting to see her relax around Pete. And I think really the episode where she changed her feelings about, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was when the thing got on, the metal thing got on his back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When she's like,
bug.
I can't lose another partner. I can't lose another one. And that, to me, where the turning point was for her. When she actually found a partner instead of just being saddled up with an idiot guy that she couldn't take serious. That
Man-child.
The man-child. Well, he stays a man-child throughout the entire series. But still.
Oh, so much.
She can tolerate him better now. But she still... Pete could be dumb, or I mean, not dumb. He could be like a man-child a lot. But when it's time to get serious, he gets serious, and she knows he has her back. So, and vice versa. So, he didn't like her much to begin with either. But here we are at the end of the season, and now you have this partnership that has been grown because I've seen some crazy things along the way so far.
That you really can't explain to anyone else, and you had to be there.
So, I mean, I like you said, I like the development, but you were not meant to like her. But now you get to see the flaws that she has, the reasoning behind the reasons that she was so uptight. But being around the family that she has now, she doesn't have to be so closed off around everyone now. So, I think they had a good niche of a family going on here.
So, Carolyn, we've given our favorite moments, Shannon and I. What was your favorite moment of the episode?
In this one? Oh.
Who's not prepared now?
Yeah.
Come on, spit it out.
Well, we have so many. I mean, I liked the part that you talked about, SP, where Claudia was like, gulp.
That was my favorite.
That was pretty hilarious. Just Artie digging around in his bag, trying to find the thing that's going to help them hear again. And both Pete and Micah are trying to scream at each other and hear each other, but their hearing is all foobarred from the glass. That was pretty funny.
They just keep going at each other.
And they like talk really a lot louder, like they're going to hear each other again.
Like children.
Well, and just Pete had some great like one-liners. It reminded me of kind of dated the show when you hear Pete talk about the people that get bronzed, like Hitler, and I forget who else he named. And then he named Michael Vick. Named Michael Vick.
Dated the show a little bit there.
Dated the show a bit because I was like, Michael Vick. Oh my God, I remember that whole thing. It was kind of funny just to hear that part.
And not a bad name drop considering what he was accused of doing at the time, especially if you were an animal lover, right?
But exactly.
Still, I mean, it's not like we're talking about him on a daily basis anymore.
No, his name's never mentioned, but kind of like you had to be there. You understood who that was at that point in time.
There were things throughout the entire series that you could tell that X-Files did this a lot, but sometimes Stargate did also. But you would see things in the news, and then all of a sudden they would talk about it the next season or whatever. Things that had happened.
Definitely.
So I mean, it was common, I think, for Warehouse to.
For Stargate SG-1, they did try to actually link it with the United States Air Force. The Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force was in at least one episode of Stargate SG-1. The actual standing active Chief of Staff of the Air Force. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that.
He acted very poorly, but just like I would imagine, general kind of way. I mean, he wasn't screaming or anything. He was kind of wood and everything. It definitely did not have extensive acting chops, but it was him. He was there. So
That's cool. I did like, there were several Star Wars references as far as Pete kept saying, I got a bad feeling about this kind of thing. And I'm like,
You gotta be
I love
when you know,
Star Trek
you
or
gotta
Star
be
Wars
fan.
references. I'm like,
especially with the Empire Strikes Back, with the bronzing,
right?
and
With the
The way
carbonite.
he
bronzing.
holds his hands and the way he
And
turns
his
his
hands
head
are up
and
in
his
the air. I'm like, yeah, that's
Exactly.
totally it. Of course, it cracks me up. You see all the other ones standing around there wrapped in saran wrap. They're like people standing around with their hands in the air, wrapped in saran wrap. And I'm like, what's with the saran wrap? They're already wrapped in bronze. What do they need the
Where are they
saran wrap
going?
for?
how are they gonna fall? They're fine.
And there's just like random people standing throughout the bronze area. Like,
Well, I liked how we passed the next one that you're going to see, but I liked how you talked about, I think it was Pete that said, "Are these the people that's done horrible things?" And he's like, "Or the people that's going to be doing horrible things, or that would have
Yeah.
done horrible things."
that would have done horrible things. Yes.
They said, "Didn't they say Mudini? I mean, what's his name? What's his name? Italian Mussolini?
Okay. I don't know where you're going.
Oh my God, the guy that was bronze, the other Hitler in Italy."
Oh, yeah.
I'm close to his name. I'm just not pronouncing
He was the Italian.
it. Version of Hitler.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one, but there was
Mussolini. That's
It's
what
not
it
Himmler.
Mussolini?
It's Mussolini. Benito Mussolini.
was. Mussolini.
Mussolini.
I just kept wanting to say Houdini. I'm like, that's not right.
I mean, Italy in World War II gets flipping sides left, right, and backwards. It's whatever. We had to fight him in World War II to root him out, but yeah. Italy was like, yeah, can we join the Allies now? I'm like, yeah, sure.
The answer should be no.
Well, I mean, there's Tuscany, which Americans love to visit, and Venice, and there's some
I've
places.
never visited these places.
Besides, there's a lot of Italians in the United States.
There
Oh,
is.
a whole bunch of them.
You don't want to piss them off.
New York.
Oh, can you imagine? That would be dangerous.
All right, I did not see any feedback, by the way. Did either of you two get
No.
any feedback? No emails, no, nothing on that.
No,
The
we
Xer.
need emails, people. Where are emails?
I was thinking, you guys don't want to call it X, right?
No.
The app formerly known as Twitter.
I'm just going to say Twitter.
I think you need to call it 10 now.
10?
Just call it 10. If you don't like X, call it 10.
How about just Twitter?
I just call it Twitter. I mean, I know that's the Roman numeral, but whatever. It's just Twitter.
I'm going to call it 10. Instead of saying it's
Okay.
the X, I'm going to say on the 10.
You got to put a
On
Dr.
the
Pepper
10.
in front of that?
On the app formerly known as Twitter.
No, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to
You
say
got to
on the
put Dr.
10.
Pepper in front of it, and then it's okay.
All right. Well, that concludes our coverage of season 1 of Warehouse 13. I think it's been a rousing success for us to be able to get to this point. So I'll call it a win. Next
I had
time,
a blast.
which will be next week, we are going to start our coverage of season 2. Unfortunately, we will take a rather large break in the middle of our coverage as I take a hiatus from podcasting through the New Year's, from Thanksgiving, United States Thanksgiving to New Year's. But we will catch the first 2 episodes of season 2. And next week, we will catch the season 2 premiere episode, Time Will Tell. Shannon, here's my infamous question to you that I've been asking every single episode.
Amazon.
You want it? Okay, she knows it in advance. The Amazon
Yeah, there you go.
description reads, in the season 2 premiere, we pick up right where we left off. MacPherson has blown Artie to smithereens and disappeared. Is Leena really a traitor? Where has Claudia gone? How will Pete, Micah, and the warehouse fare without Artie? What other havoc did MacPherson wreak when he was alone in the warehouse? And is there yet a new villain on the horizon?
Oh,
Bunch of questions.
That's a yes and no, but yes and no. Yeah.
next week. Tune in next week.
Well,
Same bat time.
It's a prettier villain. I can just tell you that. But
And villain, I don't know. I mean,
villainess.
future
Is she
friend.
really? I don't
I
think she is.
mean, kind of turned out to be the same kind of villains like in Dark Matter. They weren't really villains. And like in Continuum, they didn't actually end up being villains.
there were some villains in Continuum, but not
yes.
all of them.
Not all of them. Misunderstood. Definitely.
Carolyn, was it yesterday or was it this afternoon that I think it was yesterday when we do Dark Matter stuff?
Oh, yeah. I think that was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the 10, right? On the 10.
On Twitter? Yes.
On the
Twitter.
10.
On the
Yeah, that
Twitter.
was such a good season. I like that episode between the two because you thought all the time that they might have been villains and they were running from someone, and then they had a reason for it. They had so much more potential for that episode.
show.
So if you want to leave us feedback, you can catch either of these two on the 10 at Ocean363 for Carolyn and at Syfy Girl for Shannon. That's SYFYGURL. Or if you like to email, you can email Shannon directly at warehouse13fancast@gmail.com. That's warehouse13, the number 13, fancast@gmail.com. One more time so you remember it, warehouse13fancast@gmail.com.
Well, what if they want to like tweet at you, SP? Where do they find you?
I'm not on Twitter. I'm on the 10
Well, where do they find you on the 10?
at Stargate Pioneer.
There you go. Okay,
The
we're not
10.
leaving you out.
The 10. He's on the 10.
He's on the 10.
I'm on the 10. I'm hanging 10 on the 10.
Oh, jeez.
Here we
That makes
go.
me just think of hanging tough,
Oh my God, new kids. There you.
right?
There you go.
You see, they're coming back. I'm like, yeah, you see these old men out there.
I did.
I'm like, no.
Not exactly a boy band anymore. All right.
The
That's it.
geriatric band.
Well, that's a lot of them nowadays. But for now, that's it for this week. I'm signing off. I'm the Janitor SP.
I'm a Syfy Girl. See you guys.
I'm Ocean 363. Bye, guys.
Stay tuned. Next week, we might have a special guest.
Oh.
Thanks for joining us for an episode of the Artie's Attic Warehouse 13 Fancast. You can find all our episodes at warehouse13fancast.com. If you'd like to contact us, you can hit us up on our email at warehouse13fancast@gmail.com. We are a part of the Lone Wolf Podcast Network. You can hear more of this cast and other shows like it by checking out lonewolfpodcasts.com. The intro music is Sci-Fi Hybrid Intro by Soundmake, and the outro music is Science Fiction by Tunes to Go. Both were purchased on pond5.com.
I took her and her friend. Paid $138 for this stuff.
Dang!
What? To go into a haunted house?
It was a haunted house, and the theme was zombies. So you got to ride around in a school bus that all the windows had been taken out. It was customized, but
Okay.
and it had long bench seats in it, but they had paint guns mounted to the side of it.
Ah.
So you each
Oh.
got 200 rounds.
Okay, now the
Oh.
price is making sense.
Now
Now,
it
yeah.
makes sense.
Now it makes sense.
But I'm thinking, okay, well, there's just like targets out in in the middle of the field. Nope, there was live people.
Why would you put a target out in the middle of the field? Don't you have a parking lot around it?
Why would you volunteer to be the person that gets
no.
shot?
Exactly, but they did it.
Is it a super target?
You're funny.
Oh, jeez.
But there were some kids in front of us that were 10. I'm like, Celsi, you could have done it. It wasn't that scary. It was still scary. I gave it I gave it a 2. I mean, it had an outside maze. Not a whole lot of people were jumping out at you. I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't be something I would pay money for again. But that's because it was here in Denton, and I didn't have to go far. When she gets a little bit older, I'm going to make her go to what they call the Cutting Edge, which is rated number 5 in the United States. It's here in Fort Worth.
Mm.
So I've been going to that one since I was in high school. That is a pretty impressive one.
Okay, I was thinking there's a dearth of good haunted houses around you, so I'm thinking, I sense a business opportunity for Shannon here. She can create and direct her own haunted house experience.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
And I hate to be the one to do this because I really, I'm not really into it. But there was a huge, wailing and gnashing of teeth over the whole wrestling thing on Syfy. And actually, I was having to explain this to Shannon the other day. It came on after I think they were doing some kind of Sanctuary marathon. And after it was wrestling, because they had it all day.
What the hell?
She's like, what the f***? We could have had like 3 more episodes of Sanctuary, even if they're reruns, it'd still be better. I don't know why this is on Syfy. I'm like, look, if you really want to know why they even looked into this, is especially like the WWE, WWF stuff. Wrestling is essentially a live action comic book. It has characters and the heroes, and they all have, their superpowers are condensed down into moves. It's the blood hammer, and but it's all a stage show and a bunch of it's like if the Justice League worked out and had attitude problems. That is the whole thing with the wrestling thing. And it does kind of fit. It is that kind of weird vibe, and it's, people running around in costumes and characters and doing this show for everybody that everybody gets into. I can see how, if you, strictly speaking, how you could put it in a fantasy sci-fi type role.